Jabroni, Jabroni, Oh, it doesn't matter, you spell jabroni.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of Two Jabronis with a Wrestling Podcast. BJ Cruz here with my tag team partner, the man who openly cheated on me on live podcast airs last week, the incomparable Jeremy Loss. Jay, what's up, dude?
You left me no choice, but I'm happy you're back.
No, I was sent screenshots. You bought both of us the same gift, different colors. It was really weird. But you know, all kidding aside, you and Ryan Drosty, by the way, from Top Rope Nation, our Blue Wire Wrestling podcast brethren, he filled in last week for me. So thank you to Jeremy and Ryan for doing that.
I gotta say, hosting a pod is not a fun experience, and I have a newfound respect for you because that was incredibly difficult. And there's a point at the very end of the pod that I cut where I lose my train of thought in the middle of an important statement, and it's really embarrassing, so I had to cut it. But man, hosting a podcast is difficult.
Well,
you know, a co-host here.
I'm just trying to steer the ship and to give everyone just some inside baseball on how bad Jeremy thought this was, his mess up. He cut it before he even sent it to me to edit. He wouldn't even let me listen to it. And I've heard him. We've heard each other mess up a lot. And, you know, we've been able to kind of, if it's that egregious, we're able to kind of fix it. We just kind of move on. We don't even talk about it. He would not send me the file until he cut it himself and then sent it to me to post and to edit. So
I didn't even let my wife hear it. I was like, this is like, I felt so bad. I was talking. I stopped. I was like, oh my God. And I'm like looking at Ryan like on Zoom, and I'm like, this is so embarrassing. And I was like, oh my, this is the worst.
You know, and they'll never know. They'll just, people will never know. They'll just know that it happened, and it happens to the best of us. But again, in all sincerity, I do appreciate you and Ryan taking the reins last week, and you know, ahead of a very important event in your house, which we'll get to a little bit later. We are, of course, brought to you by the Blue Wire Network and our friends over at BetOnline.ag. Don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you download your podcasts. And if you're one of our fantastic Apple Podcast users, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And as always, if you're feeling spicy, leave a review. And here's a new one. If you're one of our if you're on Spotify, if you would prefer to listen to our pod on Spotify, go on Spotify, follow us. It's like a little Twitter thing. I think that's the term.
But
we
have a thing on Spotify now that you can follow?
It just says follow. I think that's their equivalent of a subscribe. So for our Spotify users, I don't want to ostracize you. Please hit us up on Spotify. We're also there.
I mean, Spotify is a growing podcast platform.
Huge. Cheers.
Bill
Cheers
Simmons,
to Spotify.
The Ringer.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan. Jesus. I mean, can we get the bag next? I think we're worth it.
I think we're next after Joe Rogan.
It's the next step.
You know, we were on that call. They said, we're going to take care of Joe Rogan. Right after him, Two Jabronis with a Wrestling Podcast.
Waiting on that call, Spotify.
Yeah, exactly.
Make sure you subscribe to our channel on YouTube. That's Two Jabronis with a Wrestling Podcast. There's a red button here. I know it's here.
It's so somewhere here.
Hit it.
Right there.
Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Two Jabronis Pod and on Instagram at Two Jabronis Pod. You can follow me personally at Jeremy A. Loss, and you can follow Ben at Cruise Control. That's Control with a K. Now, I have something I want to get off my chest. I reached out to our new Blue Wire brethren, Baron Davis.
Let's clap it up for BD.
He needs to come on the pod because we need to know his wrestling Mount Rushmore. That should be a new thing for everybody that joins Blue Wire.
Yes.
They have to come on the pod and give us their wrestling Mount Rushmore. It can be 5 minutes. I don't care. Just come on the pod.
Yeah. No, I'm working on it. I know BD a little bit. We've taken one picture together during some previous podcast work. So we got to get him on. I'm sure he has a wrestling Mount Rushmore. Everyone does. No matter your level of actual wrestling fandom, you have at least 4 guys that you resonate with. As I say this, I have Walking Tall on in the background, no volume, because it makes me feel good. You know what I'm saying?
Great movie.
Yeah,
it's a great movie.
Great movie. Also, by the way, It's one of the last movies with The Rock in it, aka Dwayne Johnson, where I think they give him the credit of The Rock. Literally just popped on the screen. It went. So love that. But
is this the last movie he also has hair?
I'm looking right now. He has a nice little fade going. He also the amount like he's still more ripped in this movie than you and I will ever be. The amount that he is, or comparing this to the current iteration of Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock, aka our savior, it's shocking. That's how I'll put it. The difference is incredibly shocking, but in a good way, because Rock, as you know, travels with that in huge gym, and which I am incredibly envious of in these times. But he's it's just staggering to like watch, like, oh, his pecs are like not as big as they usually are, and you're like not that impressed. And you look down your own chest, and you're like, all right, concave man.
I don't know about you, but I am a specimen right now.
Yeah, relax. Running 3 miles a day. All right, we've it feels good to be back. I feel like we just had to get some.
I mean, we're hitting it off right now.
I was off for a full week taking care of some personal matters, but now I'm back. The mic is back. I got the white wine flowing, so it's time for the main event. And for this week's main event, Jeremy actually got to talk about some brief NXT in your house, or NXT takeover in your house reactions. On Sunday, he hopped on the mic and kind of gave his quick takes, but we didn't get to do a full on breakdown. So that's what we're going to do to start.
Inside baseball info here. I did that recording while folding laundry.
See, you would think.
That's why I'm a pro.
Yeah. So a year ago, Jeremy would have melted down if he tried to do anything else, like podcast and something. Now this man he's folding laundry. He's taking care of his kids while podcasting. I don't know if anyone saw this 2 weeks ago. I told my wife, I couldn't stop laughing. I think it was 2 weeks ago on video. Your son just walked in shirtless but silent, and then your wife ran in and like pulled him out of the room. And I had to hold it in because I think I was in midpoint. I was mid speaking, but it was low key one of the funniest things I've seen in all of quarantine.
He's done that already a couple times for my job, where he's like peeked into like a meeting. I'm like,
it's incredible. It's a great move. I feel like that should be a new bit, and we just not acknowledge it. Like he just walks in shirtless, maybe flexes a pose, maybe like hits you over the head with something, and then walks. I mean,
out. I'm sure like if I unlocked my door right now, he would come in and like jump off my bed and tackle me. He has this thing now where he just wants to run in and tackle me, and he's honestly 50 pounds and he's a monster. I'm like, oh my God, I can't do it anymore.
I would say of our 3 kids, between the two of us, we have 3 kids. I think he's the leader in the clubhouse right now for future WWE/AEW superstar.
Oh yeah. That kid loves to wrestle.
Yeah. So, you know,
I'm hitting him with AAs every night. To put him to sleep, I hit him with an F5.
You're training him.
I'm getting him ready.
You're getting him those bump calluses.
Yeah, so that when he takes his calluses, he's ready to go.
When he takes his first bump in the performance center, not going to be shocked. The coaches are all going to be impressed. And then he's going to snub us to come on the podcast.
Yeah, and then he's never going to answer my DMs or calls or anything like that. He's going to leave me.
All because you kept F5ing him as a child.
Yeah, and I'm doing it for him, and then in like 20 years it's going to backfire. So, all right, let's move on. Let's get away from my parenting skills. Let's talk In Your House. Now, I love this show. I thought it was pretty well done outside of the Adam Cole Velveteen Dream match, which I absolutely hated. This was really well done for a lower level takeover. It just felt like a random takeover, but I love the In Your House bit. I love the return of the In Your House set. That was key and great to see EO jump off the roof. I was a big fan of that.
Incredible.
But yeah, I thought overall it was really well done. What did you think of it?
No, I totally agree. I was a huge fan, and like, look, from the get-go, you're thrown into the nostalgia, right? Like, the set is the same. I'm forgetting the gentleman's name who basically acted like a host
Goodness, I don't remember his name either, but he was on the original In Your House.
He was in the original In Your
House.
House, yeah. And so he did like the call in now to order all this stuff. It was just incredible, and like people are gonna shit on us because we don't know his name off the top of our heads. I'm sorry, I was a child.
Those people can suck it. Yeah. Okay, like he's been on TV like once in the past 20 years.
Right.
Like,
so all due respect though, he did a great job.
Yeah, he was great.
On Sunday. I hope he comes back. But no, the nostalgia from the get-go, just seeing that graphic, the In Your House graphic, and then the house was really, really fun to see. And then, yeah, overall the card, I was really, really impressed. And it was really, really weird at the end of the night to be like, the match I enjoyed the least was an Adam Cole match. You and I are huge Adam Cole stans. Stans, I would say. Not even fans. We stand.
I'm writing him letters
Cole.
every other week.
Yeah, which is, I've told you to stop because he's going to call the police at some point. But
I'm still waiting for him to write back.
Yeah, I keep telling you to just tweet him because who writes letters anymore? You're like a goddamn serial killer. But it was very strange to leave that pay-per-view thinking, man, an Adam Cole Velveteen Dream match was the least enjoyable match on the card, because that I guess that also speaks to how good the rest of the card was, right? Like the first match, the 6-woman tag match, it had the feel of an In Your House match, right? Where it was like just a group of people trying to get on the card, but they put on a hell of a match. These 6 women, I don't want to sell them short and just say they were just a random bunch thrown in there. That was a hell of a match. Oh my gosh, Shotzi.
So this is a
come on the
official
pod.
Shotzi Blackheart fan club here.
Yeah.
Like she needs to come on. Oakland, let's do it.
She's Filipino. There's, I believe based on a video I watched on WWE's YouTube, like 2.5 Filipinos in all of WWE, and she is one of them. So I've officially put it out there that she should come on because I genuinely don't know any other Filipinos in the wrestling media space. So I'm putting it out there that she should come on the show. We should chat about culture and wrestling. I think it'd be fun. Anyway, that match was phenomenal. And because you automatically assume, just kind of looking at it on paper, that was going to be the least memorable match. It ended up not being that way.
So like the 2 matches that I pegged as the least memorable or the ones that I wasn't looking forward to the most happened to be 2 of the best matches, the 6-woman tag match and the Finn Balor Damian Priest match. Like,
oh my God.
Those 2 were they blew away my expectations. And then to also kind of circle back towards Adam Cole, I think what they really did a disservice by making that a cinematic match. It had no business being a cinematic match.
There was no reason for it. It just seemed forced. And again, ever since the cinematic matches even made their debut of sorts in WWE at WrestleMania, we said, look, all 4 cinematic matches, cinematches, as our boy Chris Van Vliet would call them, but they have to feel special. The minute you start trying to force them in, this is when people are going to turn on it. And you can't have that, especially now when like you could turn to a cinematic match if you need to. And I think until fans are back, you need to have that ace up your sleeve, basically. And to use it there just felt ill-advised, I guess is how I'll put it.
It was, for the actual like lighting of the match was terrible.
Super dark.
The layout of the match didn't really lend itself to a cinematic match. It was basically a normal match, just presented cinematic style. Like with the Boneyard match, it was in a backyard, wherever the hell they were. And they were able to do certain elements that really took advantage of the cinematic styling. And also it helped make up for the fact that Undertaker just cannot work a normal match. Like he can't go 15 minutes in the ring anymore. And then you have the Firefly Funhouse match, and that just linked completely into the Bray Wyatt character. So that was perfect. This, you have 2 very young, very talented individuals that could put on a 30-minute match in the ring with no shenanigans, and it'll be great. Why not do that? Like, what is the point here of putting on a less than stellar cinematic match for a Dexter Lumis surprise? Is that the idea here, or was it like
look, if that was their long play, definitely not worth it, because first of all, the man committed a kidnapping, which
he should be in prison.
We all just kind of overlook that aspect. But also, I kind of, some red flags started to pop up the second it came on before the Karrion Kross Ciampa match. Because you're like, this is the NXT title match. Like, this is the NXT men's title match. Like, I actually thought in my head that the women's title match would be on last. Makes sense. Charlotte's in there, and to give Io her moment if she was to win, or Rhea kind of her moment if she was to regain it. But to have it third to last, huge red flag. And I thought it might not be. And again, I think this was taped like a week or so before. I believe I saw Meltzer say it was tweeted it was recorded anyway at the end of May. So that tells me they saw it and they were like, we can't put this on toward the end. It can't be a co-main. It can't be the lead into the main event. Like, we just kind of have to put it here, and we'll put it as late as we can because it is for the title. But that was a little bit alarming and a huge bummer, man. Like, two dudes that good, like you said, should not be. They shouldn't have been put in that position, and it's just really unfortunate because that could have been a banger of a match. Too. Yeah, it could have been.
It really does put a damper on Velveteen because he was really hot for a while, and then he got injured. And my daughter is screaming in the background. So if you hear her, I apologize.
She's also upset. That's why.
Yes, she's a huge Velveteen Dream fan.
She's been upset for 4 days.
She's been screaming her head off for 4 days. But he was red hot before he got injured. Obviously, the injury put a damper on things. But when he came back, he was red hot again. And this title run just hasn't panned out the way I imagined it to be. And it feels like now, and I hate saying this, but like Adam Cole's run as NXT champion has just died. It has lost all of its luster for me. Well, and I'm ready for this thing to end.
Maybe. So this is jumping ahead a little bit into going into what happened tonight on NXT. Is that clearly his next challenger is Karrion Kross, which I think is going to be an incredible match. They've set up Karrion Kross to be like the most dominant force in NXT, like to catapult him from, look, he debuts to take out, basically squash Ciampa, by the way. Ciampa got limited offense in.
So let's talk about that. Like, what they did with Kross was perfect.
Oh, it was incredible. That match was phenomenal. And I usually don't like squash matches like that. I'm very anti-squash match, unless it's for a reason. This felt huge to me, just because Ciampa is such a NXT stalwart where you're like, oh damn, that was almost the physical iteration of a torch being passed to the next guy, right? And Ciampa he might still have another title run in him down the line, or he might go up to Raw or up to SmackDown. I know he's kind of been anti that for a long time, but for him to say, yeah, have this dude squash me, have him hit me with a modified F5 and then choke me the F out, like, that's huge. So
yeah,
that's really exciting. And like, the whole package of Karrion Kross right now is so fire. It is so good. And you just kind of expect them to at some point drop the ball on this, right? But they just
that's so weird that like we're like, that's our mindset, that like we're just waiting for the ball to drop here.
Yeah.
And they've been doing an excellent job of making sure that they're not dropping the ball with him from his debut to the way they kind of built it up. And I think I talked to Ryan about this on Friday. I think they were really done. They were dealt a helping, like a positive hand by not having the fans around and being able to be a little bit more creative with his debut, because NXT, the proper way that they introduce people for NXT is they have them show up in the front row during a takeover and they show the camera on them, and then that's it.
Right.
Like, I think here, the fact that they weren't able to do that, they were able to do a little bit more creativity, do more vignettes, have him kind of peek in on the final beat match, and then shock Ciampa with an attack. So I think they really were able to get off on the right foot. And then they have the entrance, which is just phenomenal. His in-ring style is brutal and it fits his character. And like you said, his match with Ciampa was a squash match, but it was more of a glorified squash match. Like it was, Ciampa had his moments, but like there was no chance that you were thinking that it was going to be a problem. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally. Everything
just looked like this was going to be Karrion Kross's night, and they really did make it seem special. Like you said, it was a passing of the torch. I think I said this on Sunday. Ciampa's always going to be there. He's Ciampa. Like he's always going to be in the main event picture on NXT. But for now, this shows that they are ready to strap the rocket to him and put him in the main event picture, and they did that tonight.
It's almost the amount that they've strapped this rocket to Karrion Kross is. It almost makes me wonder if they're kind of shooting him to the main I keep saying main roster because it's just how I think about it, but are they aiming to shoot him to Raw or SmackDown sooner than later, which would be crazy this quickly? I just think it's a possibility given how positively he's been received, and obviously Scarlett's a big part of that as well, right? Like they're a package at this point. They're a package deal. I hope they don't, because NXT, if they want to treat it as the legitimate third brand, which they've actually done a pretty good job of doing, which I don't think we talk about enough, but they honestly have, like he needs to be the face of NXT for a very, very long time, right? And I think Cole and Undisputed Era, I think they've honestly graduated in a sense to Raw and or SmackDown, because I think they could thrive there. Kind of like, you know, how they've thrust Riddle into the SmackDown role. Like Cole and Undisputed Era on Raw right now would be kind of dope. I mean, this is obviously fantasy booking at its finest, but I mean, and obviously thinking way ahead, but you know, Karrion Kross, man, like he's just kind of exceeded expectations, and I'm just really, really excited for. I think he's going to dethrone Adam Cole.
So do I. That's been my prediction since the jump. Like I feel like he is the one to end this reign. Thinking about it now that you say it, I feel like they are going to kind of strap the rocket to him and put him up on Raw and SmackDown sooner rather than later. I think his length of time in NXT could be similar to Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre was in NXT for what, like less than a year?
Like a heartbeat, yeah.
He won the title and then ended up losing it, and he wasn't in there very long, and then he made his way to the main roster. I could see that happening with Karrion Kross. For one, his style, his look, his character, but Scarlett is a big factor in this. Like she is a massive player, just because she is an excellent manager for him.
Yes.
Just an excellent presence. She is a gorgeous woman. Like, don't get me wrong, she is a gorgeous woman, but she's also really great in the ring. So if they need somebody to step in and be a mid-tier women's wrestler on Raw or on SmackDown, she can easily fill that role as well. So I think it makes sense for him to dethrone Adam Cole, maybe keep the belt for a couple months, and then just make his way up to the main roster, maybe at Rumble. That could be cool.
I feel like at some point, you know, I think he's going to stay on at least even until Survivor Series, because that's usually when they start to showcase the NXT talent against the main roster guys and girls, right? Like Keith Lee, when Keith Lee was in there against Roman Reigns and the rest of the roster, you're like, oh yeah, it's just a matter of time until this dude's on Raw or SmackDown, because he doesn't look out of place against Roman Reigns. You know what I'm saying? Like he looks like he could kick Roman Reigns' ass, and that's few and far between. I feel like they're going to present that with Karrion Kross at Survivor Series when it's all three brands going at each other. And then, maybe kind of around the new year, around January, around Rumble time, that's when they maybe pulled the trigger, because NXT is still pretty deep. Like, even if they lost Karrion Kross, it's pretty staggering how they would be able to fill that hole. It would be a gaping hole, but they'd be able to fill it, and they'd still have, a legitimate. Like, let's say Undisputed Era gets moved over to Raw or SmackDown. Keith Lee gets moved over to Raw or SmackDown. And then Karrion Kross, there's still a lot of guys and girls who can fill those spots. Like Finn looks like he's there to stay. Deep. Yeah, it's pretty goddamn wild. And
and then there's a report coming out that like Dream is supposed to be staying in NXT for an extended period of time.
So maybe that's his time, right? Like he's still pretty young, so maybe they're just kind of having him bide his time until he's, kind of running the show.
Yeah. So what else did you think of the show? I mean, we also had Keith Lee versus Johnny Gargano. We had Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. And then we had the women's title match. I think the women's title match was really, really strong. I feel bad for Rhea's face because she got Io's knee straight to the dome at the end of it.
I mean, thankfully, Rhea was on NXT tonight. She had a little Robert Stone brand interaction, but I'm just glad she wasn't seriously hurt because Io was, I believe you tweeted this out on Twitter. She was incredible on Sunday.
Easily the best person in that match.
Not even close. But that being said, she clocked the shit out of Rhea at the end of the match, which made me a little concerned because you're like, oh, that might be a concussion.
Yeah. Outside of that, what did you think of that finish? I felt like it was a bit wonky. Like
it was a little weird.
This was just me thinking, like, why didn't Charlotte do anything?
Yeah, I mean, Charlotte's performance during that match in general felt a little off. And even being a little off, still incredible, still very, very good. But
it wasn't her best, and I don't think it was close to her best.
Right, it was like a timing thing, right, where you can kind of just feel it. Charlotte is so good, where she has like beats to the way she wrestles, and you're like, she's hitting, she's killing it. This whole match just kind of felt a little off, like throughout, right? It just felt off beat, and that's not to say it was bad because it was actually, I thought it was phenomenal, and. Yeah, the finish was a little wonky, but ultimately they got what they wanted. They got the title on Io. Charlotte didn't have to eat a pin, and I think those were the two biggest things that they wanted to accomplish.
Yeah, and then Triple H after the show talked about, he was answering questions, and one of the questions was like, what was the goal for Charlotte's run in NXT, because she killed Rhea's momentum, held the belt for a couple months, and then lost it. Like, and he said that it's going to be 3-4 months down the road before they really pay off this thing. So I'll be interested to see where they go from here. I agree with the person that asked that question because they have fundamentally just killed Rhea's momentum. Like, she is back to square one, in my opinion.
That's why I was so shocked that she lost at Mania. And look, maybe it had to do with coronavirus, and maybe she had to go home. I know she was at home for a while, and she had some stuff to take care of. Like, there's stuff that maybe we don't see, but it was just so shocking to me that they would do that to someone who was probably as high on the pedestal as you could think of in terms of a woman's wrestler, right? She showed up on Raw, got the better of Charlotte multiple times, and to have her just kind of fall, and so she lost. Obviously, there was a little bit of a gap there where she had to go back home, but to lose that momentum it almost felt, and this may be a bit of an exaggeration, it almost felt very Finn Balor-esque to me when he won the Universal title, got hurt, and then didn't come back for a while. And you kind of see where Finn is now, where he's kind of like in the mid to top tier, right? And I just like Rhea will obviously have more room to kind of stay in the main title picture in NXT now that Charlotte's kind of moved back to Raw and or SmackDown. There's no official word about where she is yet, I believe. But for her, I think she's going to fight with Io for the title for a while, and they'll produce some great matches. But the amount that she hasn't, or the amount that she kind of fell off, given where she was, it's pretty shocking. Yeah,
we'll see. I was going to get your insight into the Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Keith Lee, Johnny Gargano matches, but they were both great, and we have something really important to talk about, and I want to get to it.
Real quick, before we go into a downer, because that's where we're headed. The Finn Balor Damian Priest match, it's one of those
damn
things,
clean. It was so clean.
It was one of those things where looking into it, you're like, I bet you that's going to be good. Like, I don't want to say it out loud, but I bet it's going to be good. And it was phenomenal. Like, Finn, by the way, we talk a lot about how Brock makes his opponents look like $1 million when he sells for them. The way Finn sells, is like he wrestled Cameron Grimes tonight. Like I don't really care for Cameron Grimes or whatever. The way that Finn sells for people makes me believe in whoever he's fighting, and that is crazy. And
he's one of the best.
But that being said, Damian Priest also looked like a friggin' monster. He looked like $1 million, and all credit goes to him for that.
All credit goes to him for that back bump that he took off the apron onto the steel steps.
Good Lord, that was...
Man, my back hurt just watching that. But I was talking to Ryan about this on Friday. I just was not really enthused about this match, probably because the build wasn't that great in my opinion.
Sure, yeah.
But man, the moment they locked up and they started doing their moveset and they were just working through this match and they were hitting each other with everything, and everything just had a little bit more emphasis on it. Everything was just a little bit cleaner than what I've seen. And it was just move after move after move after move. And it just flowed so well that it really elevated my opinion of Damian Priest, because it takes two to tango. And I'm always going to expect a match like that from Finn Balor.
Yeah.
He's one of the best, but Damian Priest really rose to the occasion and elevated his status in a loss. Like, he just looked great. So I'm hoping that in the future, it's going to take some time to build him back up, but like, he has a really bright future in NXT just because he is a quality worker. He's a quality big man. He is very nimble for a man his size.
And he's one of the guys that we are talking about when we say NXT is mad deep. Like, when all of these top tier people kind of move on to Raw or SmackDown, the Keith Lees, the Adam Coles and Undisputed Eras, Karrion Kross, Damian Priest is going to be in the fold, right? To be a title holder. And he already has been with this deep a roster. That was a star-making performance. And he's been good. He's been really good. That was where you kind of like, after the match, you just sit back and you're like, damn, I kind of want to see more of that. So that's really hard to do in kind of this day and age of being a professional wrestling fan.
Yep. All right, let's move on to something a little bit more depressing. We're going to preface this by saying, spoiler alert, if you don't want to be spoiled by what is happening
on SmackDown this Friday.
Yes. You can go ahead and skip ahead.
We're giving you, this is our warning. Warning now, at whatever time this is, because I can't see it on the screen. We are going to spoil something that's going to happen on SmackDown based on some stuff that we read. So skip ahead. We'll give you 2 seconds starting now. All right, go ahead.
All right, if you're listening to this, you want to be spoiled, and I mean, to be honest, you need to be spoiled about this because you're gonna have to get your body and your mind ready for this.
It's not a good.
Okay, so just to preface this, earlier today, Ben sent me a text with a screen grab of a Twitter feed saying there was going to be some shenanigans and something crazy going on SmackDown. It was going to be a contract signing, and it was going to blow people away. So naturally, I felt the need to go deep dive and try to find out what the hell this person was talking about. Well, I found it. So, according to reports, this major story is going to involve Jeff Hardy and Sheamus. Now, if you've been watching SmackDown lately, you know that they are doing just a tone-deaf, awful storyline with Jeff Hardy right now, leaning into his myriad of drug problems that he's had in the past. And this one is no different. So apparently this is going to be a contract signing for their match at Backlash, which we all knew was going to happen. During this segment, Sheamus will walk out to the ring with a man in a lab coat, 4 security guards, asking to have Jeff Hardy take a drug test because he wants assurances ahead of their match that a junkie is not going to ruin the chance of them wrestling. Jeff will fail the test, or no, he's adamant that Jeff will fail the test. Jeff admits that he has a problem. He's had a problem before, and that he will take the test immediately. It is the weirdest, most jaw-dropping storyline, in my opinion, because they ran a segment 2 weeks ago that involved Jeff Hardy in a hit and run accident. Now, to me, I do not like these kind of stories where they lean into personal problems, especially some as dark as Jeff Hardy's. I just feel like this is not the time nor the place to do this kind of stuff. And to do this on Fox too, that's weird.
Well, I mean, I'm honestly not shocked about the Fox thing, given honestly, they just want the ratings, right? Like, they don't give a shit about anything else. The way that WWE is going about bringing back a lot of Jeff Hardy's demons, right? This is the biggest knock against him as not only a performer in professional wrestling, as a human, right? He's real life struggled with this in both WWE, in TNA or Impact or wherever. Like, I can't unsee the match with him and Sting in TNA where it's for the title. He's zonked out of his mind. Sting rolls him up and holds him the hardest I've ever seen anyone hold anyone up in a schoolboy roll-up. And it's because he doesn't want to wrestle with him because it is unsafe. And look, I've heard, Jeff probably signed off on it, this, that, and the third. You're probably correct. That doesn't mean that you should bring this to him. Be like, hey, we have an idea for you. We're going to, you not only are you not going to win the Intercontinental title tournament, which you could have had a legitimate argument to do, we're going to bring up some personal demons about your drug and alcohol abuse. What do you think? And look, man, like, he's trying to get paid. He's an employee of the company. If someone right now came up to me with, like, bringing up some personal demons and were like, hey, you want to be on TV to talk about this? I'd be like, yeah, probably. You're paying me how much? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're willing to sacrifice a lot. That doesn't mean you should be doing it. And I feel for Jeff Hardy because I'm sure he has done a lot of soul searching, a lot of work to find himself and to find peace to where he's at now. And that's fantastic. And he's still one of the most charismatic wrestlers in the ring. When you see him, right, you're like, shit. Like, even now, as like, we're like damn near 33 years old, every time you see Jeff Hardy, you're still like, this dude might swanton off of something and it might be nuts. And I think that's enough. I don't think we have to be reminded of the fact that he has problems. Like, we all have problems. Do we have to televise the fact that he had to fight through a lot of shit to get back to where he is and do what he does best? We usually give a lot of leeway with WWE and how they formulate storylines. This is just one where I can't get on board at all.
It screams lazy to me. Like, it's super easy to be like,
at the
hey,
very
we're going to
least,
lean into your personal problems. Like, we don't have anything else to come up with. So let's just talk about you being a drunkie. Like, that's lazy. There's so many other things that you can do to create a better storyline around these two characters. Like, these two guys have been in the WWE for a very long time.
And they're both really good. They're both really
they're both
good.
Great. Like, I agree. Like, I'm sure Jeff has some input here, but at the same time, it's like, hey, Jeff, do you want to be on TV? Well, here's a storyline we have for you. It's like, yeah, I guess I want to be on TV. Like, I want to wrestle.
Right.
It's just, it's bad taste in my opinion. I don't like these kind of storylines, no matter who it is. I understand that you want to be as real as possible, but there's just like, there's certain lines that you shouldn't cross. There's certain things that don't need to be brought up and played out in this kind of way. So I'm hoping that we can get past this as quickly as possible, and it's not as uncomfortable and dirty and grimy as it's already feeling. Like, I feel dirty watching the hit and run segment. Like, that felt awful. Like, I did not feel great about sitting there through a 15-minute segment of seeing somebody almost like them pretending that this guy got hit by a car from a drunk driver. Like, that's not funny.
And they're
it's
also
not fun to enjoy. It's not fun to watch.
They're also using that to further Elias's legitimate injury that he tore his pec.
Yeah.
Like, now you're going to put that potentially on Jeff, and clearly it's not, but it's just so tone deaf right now. Like, that's just the best way to describe it. And I mean, I hope they move on to bigger and better things because, like we said, Jeff and Sheamus are much better than this. I
mean, and they have a long history of doing these kind of things. Like, they did a lot of this stuff during the Attitude Era, and like it was a different time. They've done stuff like this recently as well. Like, it's just
you got to read the room a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, you got to read the room. That's like the best advice. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Ultimately, who are we to? We've hated many storylines before, and this won't be the last one that we hate with this much passion.
Yeah, it's
right now.
Grimy. It's not in good taste. So
it sucks.
Let's move on.
Let's pay some bills. How about that?
Let's pay some bills.
Let's take a break.
Let's do it.
Let's freaking pay some bills. So let's take a quick break to talk about our friends over at Bet Online. There is no shortage of action going on at our exclusive partners, betonline.ag. Sports are slowly making their way back. Hell yeah. And BetOnline is leading the way with the best odds and lines for all UFC, NASCAR. Shout out to NASCAR, by the way. If you don't know what I'm talking about.
Big news today.
Google that shit. Shout out to NASCAR. You're surprising, but you're doing the right thing.
You're heading towards the right side of history here.
Absolutely.
So good on NASCAR.
Other sports, boxing, and soccer matches. And if you need even more, they have simulated NFL, NBA, and UFC simulations all day, every day, live on their website.
Looking for something else other than sports? BetOnline has hundreds of casino games, poker tournaments, and prop bets to check out. Those casino games are like, I lose a ton of money on them. I'm not going to say they're bad because you should play them.
I feel like it's a problem for you, yeah.
But they are a problem for me. Visit betonline.ag and use promo code BlueWire for a free welcome bonus. That's one word, BlueWire. BetOnline, your online wagering experts.
All right, let's before we wrap up the show, let's quickly hit the week in wrestling. It was actually a pretty eventful week. We've talked about, kind of what's next for NXT, but tonight. We're recording this on Wednesday night. You're probably listening to this at the earliest Thursday. So last night, NXT kind of set up the future of what looks to be their next string of matches. So it looks like it's going to be Karrion Kross versus Adam Cole for the NXT title, which is going to be Chef's Choice. Chef's Choice good. We got a little Finn Balor versus Keith Lee, which also I dig.
I tweeted out in my reaction to that match. I tweeted out 6 to midnight, and if you've watched Forgetting Sarah Marshall, you know what I'm talking about. I just want to talk really quick about. I know we talked about him earlier, but I want to talk about this Karrion Kross Adam Cole tease and the way that they set it up, which was just perfect. So on NXT, Adam Cole beat what's his face, Dexter Lumis, to maintain the title. At the end of the show, lights go out, lights come back on. Scarlett's at the top of the ramp. She walks down, looking
so good,
just fuego, and puts an hourglass on the ring, flips it over, sand starts to drop. Tick-tock. That is just excellent storytelling and just a perfect way to lead into the next feud. It is so easy for them to do something where Karrion Kross comes out and attacks Adam Cole. This is so much more subtle.
It's the mind games.
It's the mind games. It's everything about it was just, all right, this is what the Karrion Kross character is about. And this is how Scarlett is going to take this character to the next level. So just perfect. Finn Balor versus Keith Lee. I'll watch that match every fucking day.
It might be, no, not might. It's going to be incredible. Like we thought Finn was going to be next in line for the NXT title. Even if he doesn't win and it's him, like let's say it's him versus Karrion Kross for the title down the road, that's fire. Finn Balor is just so goddamn good. And I saw something today on Twitter. I forgot who tweeted it. and which I had to disagree with a little bit, or agree and disagree with Finn. They said that Finn had lost a lot of momentum and that he was just another NXT guy now. And you're like, no, whenever Finn's on NXT, it feels special. It feels legitimate. And yes, is he in the main title picture yet? No. Should he be? Probably, because that's where he was teased to be early on when he first came over to NXT. But like, I feel like he's reintroducing himself to like the NXT audience and the brand, and he's not
reinvigorating that character, but also like he's elevating everybody else in the middle of that roster.
Yes,
like
he's lifting.
He
them
elevated
up.
Cameron Grimes tonight, and Cameron Grimes, I don't want to say that he sucks, but that character sucks.
It's a little weird. It's a little. It's very 1990s WWE.
Yeah, and then like his match with Damian Priest, that was the best match that Damian Priest has had since he joined the NXT. Like he made Imperium look awesome before Imperium won the tag belt because he was setting up a few. Are you watching Walking Tall right now?
There was a scene that
can't look away.
I was like, what is? I had to figure out what was happening.
But every match that he's been in since he came back to NXT has had a level of gravitas.
Yes.
And gravitas, is that the right word? I feel like it's the right word.
Gravitas is always the right word.
It sounds great, so I'm going with it. But he's just elevating and slowly building. I don't care that he's not in the NXT title picture right now. I've seen him with the NXT title. I don't need to see him with the NXT title anymore. I want to see him with North American, and I want to see him with the NXT UK because I goddamn want to see that Walter match like it's nobody's business.
It's coming. So, that I think is, you're right. I think they are holding out for that because they teased us with it. And obviously coronavirus happened and everything else, but that has to happen. Maybe that's who costs him this match against Keith Lee.
I mean,
that's how we get back into it.
So if he wins, you know, it'd be cool. And if they did this would be awesome. If he won the North American, that means, and then he won the NXT. So he had won NXT, NXT UK, North American, Universal, IC. Did he win US?
I don't think he's been a US champ yet. So that's the only one and he hasn't been a tag champ yet. So he's still missing some belts,
3 belts
from the whole, from winning all of them. But if he were to win the NXT UK title, he hasn't won the NXT Tag Team Champions. Yeah, I'm trying to find.
Yeah, I thought he was a lot closer to winning all the belts, but he's quite a ways away. So never mind. My point.
He needs
redacted.
He needs to win a tag title.
But
that's what we need to do.
I just want to see him in cool matches, and this Keith Lee and him will just be a cool match because Keith Lee fucking rules.
Keith Lee is incredible, man.
Man, he is easily in my top 3 wrestlers right now. He is just everything about him, his entrance, his charisma, his in-ring style, just his swag. Like, I can't get enough of Keith Lee. So I'm looking forward to this. Another thing that came out of NXT on Wednesday was this reveal of El Hijo de Fantasma. Sorry, I butchered that name. He looks to be the new heel with a fucking awesome reveal. I was not really into his character. I wasn't really excited about him winning the Cruiserweight belt, but man, the reveal of his new faction tonight against when he attacked Drake Maverick really stood out to me. It made it seem like he made Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza seem important. And now he's going by Santos Escobar, which is just a fucking cool name. I don't care what anybody says. It's just a cool name.
It's what Vinny Chase would name himself in a movie in Entourage, basically.
It's just a really cool, like, I don't know, Santos Escobar. I don't know why I said it like that, but it feels right.
I feel you. It's like a Medellin. You kind of have to just do that voice.
Yeah. You're the Entourage expert here. I have only watched like 2 episodes, so.
Oh well, we should talk offline because you need to catch up. You haven't watched Parks and Rec. I haven't watched Entourage, maybe we'll watch. We might have to trade off. By the way,
I had a side note. I have to tell people this. I told you and I told Joey, our friend Joey, about this, and he laughed at me because I've been a staunch Office over Parks and Rec guy my entire life, and now
you couldn't feed Joey that.
I'm starting to feel like I'm Parks and Rec over The Office.
Oh boy, we're not having this discussion.
It's tearing me apart inside. I'm the living embodiment of Tommy Wiseau saying it's tearing me apart. Like, it's killing me.
We are not having this discussion in front of our friends and family right now. But also because Joey, by the way, Joey Merkel, you will be on the show soon. The invite is coming. We're gonna do a pod with Joey Merkel, and we're gonna do the history of the BR WWE Fantasy League, because if you guys haven't heard this story, it is an incredible league. It was the most fun I've had in my life. Little inside baseball.
And Joey Merkel put in so many goddamn man hours to make sure that we had the correct scoring. So we'll have Joey on to talk about this. But moving back, what were we talking about? El Hijo del Fantasma? Yeah. Yes.
Great reveal. Loved it.
Great reveal. Cool faction. Looks like Drake Maverick's going to be a big time player going forward. Yes.
Until
which is good for him.
Until they are allowed to kind of open the cruiserweight title back up for Jordan Devlin, right? He was the initial champion who they've named an interim champion because he can't defend it, but that's going to be it's shaping up to be a fantastic rivalry.
NXT is just like they're in this groove now where they can do some great stuff as long as they don't do cinematic matches, because they suck at them, because that Gargano Ciampa match sucked too. Moving on, let's shift gears to AEW. Now, I'm speaking of 6 to Midnight. This is
right up your wheelhouse.
This is just like, I inject this into my veins. It's going to be Jericho versus Orange Cassidy at Fyter Fest.
Oh my God.
What the fuck? So tonight, I don't know if you watched it. I was watching AEW.
Did I watch it? Did I watch Chris Jericho hit him with a sack of oranges like he was Kramer waiting for someone?
Yes.
It was with a sack of pennies? Yeah, absolutely.
It was crazy. They were adamant that it was a 20-pound bag of blood oranges. For one thing, they were regular oranges, you could tell.
First of all, who sells 20-pound bags of oranges? You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's a thing anymore. I've been to Costco recently. No 20-pound bags.
It's like 6 pounds.
Maybe a 10-pounder. That's half the thing. A 20-pound bag of oranges would kill another human, and he was already bleeding. I digress. The point is, the blood... when Jericho called him Blood Orange Cassidy, I legitimately yelped in my living room.
It was a great line. He said, Blood Orange Cassidy has been juiced, and they shot down to Orange Cassidy, and he was bleeding.
So funny. So funny. Good. It was
excellent. Now, Fyter Fest in general is shaping up to be
really good.
Really great. I love the fact that they are going to do a 2-night, 2-week event. I think it's great that they're putting this on for free, considering the economic struggles of the nation right now.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's just smart to do that. We're going to get Brian Cage versus John Moxley. We're going to get Omega and Hangman versus the Best Friends. There's going to be a handful of other matches coming up too.
The Best Friends is tag title matches on the line next week on Dynamite against Le Sex Gods. So if Le Sex Gods win,
but like Sammy Guevara is going to face Matt Hardy at Fyter Fest, so the Best Friends are definitely winning.
Sure, I mean,
but
absolutely.
I mean, Le Sex Gods is still like just the GOAT tag name.
When the graphic popped up and it was like Le Sex Gods versus the Best Friends, it was if I had like woken up from a coma, like as a wrestling fan, to that, utter confusion, I should say. But in just kind of having watched it evolve, it was such a satisfying graphic to watch.
Do you think you can get away with wearing a wrestling shirt that said Le Sex Gods on it?
No.
Yeah, not even, I was gonna say.
Not even in my own house. Like my daughter is 16, 17 months. She can't even read. I would not be allowed to wear that shirt in the house, according to my wife. So
yeah, I have a Trish Stratus shirt that you gave me that she
give
is
that to you.
Somewhat scantily clad, and I feel like kind of weird wearing it. I wore it to the store the other day and I got some dirty looks.
Or you got some intrigued looks. You'll never actually really know.
I mean, I mean, they were looks, and it felt weird. But yeah,
Hey, you're just supporting one of the best women's wrestlers of all time. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, she's a living legend on my shirt, but it was just there were weird looks. Like there's some questionable wrestling shirts. Like I've always wanted a Joey Ryan shirt, but they're like a little much. Like there's a one where he's like a Super Mario character, and it says like King or Super Dong style. And I'm like, I can't wear that anywhere.
There's some that are just really tough. There's a lot that are really tough. Not this. We want the smoke. Street. No,
that's that's an iconic shirt.
We want the smoke. Shout out to the Street
I need
Profits.
that shirt.
Shout out to the Street Profits.
By the way, we have our Inner Circle Stadium Stampede shirts in the mail. Just waiting to get them. Can't wait to get it.
Yes, you did surprise me with that. Thank you. We'll have to wear it on a show. Just at the same
we're gonna
time.
wear matching shirts. We're gonna do it.
It'll be weird.
Let's move on. Another spoiler alert. So if you don't want to be spoiled for Friday, just skip ahead 5 seconds.
Here we go. Well, let's give them 3, 2, 1. Let's spoil it.
Brie Bella may have spoiled the IC title match. She posted a photo on Instagram with the IC title. What the fuck is this?
I don't know why you're asking, because clearly Daniel Bryan is winning the Intercontinental title.
I'm putting all my money on Daniel Bryan to win this title.
I know. Is Vegas are those odds still open? We gotta look at Bet Online. I get a lot of WWE betting odds, by the way, or all of them. I get them all in my email, and sometimes, like if I'm working, just at the dinner table, my wife walks by. She's like, "Did you just get WWE betting odds?" I look like a complete degenerate. And obviously, I have the fallback of saying, like, "Oh, I need these odds for the show." In reality, really want to bet on this shit.
I mean, if that line is up right now, I may bet my son's college fund on Daniel Bryan to win the IC title. And if he doesn't win, I may have to reach out to Brie Bella via DM and ask her a couple questions.
Right. Be like, is this part of it where you stole the title? Like, did Daniel Bryan turn heel? Yeah, that is the risk. I'd still be pretty comfortable putting a hefty amount on Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. And my son's college fund may or may not be riding on Daniel Bryan to win the IC title.
It's also not that surprising, though. I mean, Daniel Bryan deserves a title. He obviously hasn't held one since he was Recycle Man when he was the WWE champion. So, and again, like we've talked about the Intercontinental title a lot on the show. It's one of our favorite titles personally. It just needs some new life into it.
It needs to go back to the white belt. That's what it needs to do.
First of all, that. But, and this is no shots at Sammy, because I think he would have been a great champion kind of as he progressed here. But it does need a little bit of a lift. It needs some cachet. Yeah. Daniel Bryan is the perfect guy to do that. And look, AJ Styles would have been great too, but he just moved over to the show. They can continue that feud for a while. Bryan as a face with a championship belt could do great things.
And I think he wants to do like an open challenge too every week, which would give them just 15 minutes of Daniel Bryan majesty on like every week, just of him doing great stuff in the ring. So, I mean, that's an easy way to fill 15, 20 minutes of a 2-hour show every Friday. So we'll see. All right, let's move on to one final thing before we sign off. Bayley 2 belts is a thing, and I am all effing for it. She has been so damn good lately.
On fire. Shout out to San Jose's own Bayley.
This is the most I've been entertained by her since NXT.
Incredible.
She is hilarious.
She's really funny.
She's great in the ring, and just her interactions with Michael Cole are really priceless.
And she's still, her and Sasha are still building up to that. Eventually, they are going to split, right? Even when they won the tag belts on Friday, signs of some fissures. You know what I'm saying? So I like that. Like that, they're kind of riding this high, and eventually one of them is going to turn on the other, and they're going to have this epic feud that's going to be phenomenal. But,
also, they mocked the story about them crying backstage when they won the titles. Like, they are on another level right now. It's so good.
They're in such a phenomenal place, and credit to Bayley, because I think during her run on Raw and or SmackDown, you know, she's had these moments where she's like super hot and then she cools off significantly. Super hot, cools off significantly. And her cashing in on Charlotte last year was, I feel like, one of the high points even within the past couple of years. And even right after that kind of fell off. This is the longest that I feel like she's been, and again, it's a little bit hard to gauge because there's no actual fan reaction. But
I think that's been a benefit for her, though.
Absolutely.
Then you can hear her
she's
like
not
mocking
thinking about
Michael Cole.
Yeah, she's not thinking about it. She's absolutely been on fire. And Sasha playing that role along with her has been equally as phenomenal. And them together is just money. And you're just waiting for that split, which is going to pay off so freaking well.
I mean, when that split happens, it's going to be great because Sasha is playing that role of being torn between being a loyal best friend and wanting to be out of her shadow. And she's playing it so well. And it's just like when that moment happens, when she's finally had enough and she turns on her and hits her with a bank statement, it's going to be awesome.
I'll say this before we sign off. Are we concerned, though, that face Sasha is coming back? Because, look, Sasha's phenomenal, right? She's incredible. When she's a face, when she's playing it kind of straight up and trying to be the good girl in a feud, it's just kind of fizzled out. And that's not to say that she can't do it. I'm just basing off of her history of doing that. Are we a little concerned? Because I guess even if you flip it, you run the same risk with Bayley.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe there's no perfect answer to this.
I'm a bit concerned, but I don't think they're going to play it as Sasha being like this white meat babyface. They're going to play it as there's going to be some emotion to the turn where she's going to have this vengeance and vengeful kind of emotion that she can use that could really catapult her. I agree. Like if she's just a basic run of the mill babyface, it's going to grow tired pretty quickly. But I think she can turn in a way where she's not going to be happy-go-lucky Sasha.
Sure.
I'm just like, oh shucks, I'm just so happy to be here. She's going to be like, I'm pissed off. It's my turn. I'm the boss here. Where it's going to be kind of a vengeful baby face in a way, if that makes sense. It's not going to be a heel.
I'm with you. Okay.
But I feel like there's going to be a lot of emotion behind it that this could be one of the better turns if they do it right. I hope they do it right. I really hope they do it right.
I mean, they've been milking it for a while, so I feel like they're invested, and it's going to have a fantastic payoff. Which
I hope they don't do it with like it's some cheesy turn that involves the tag belts. I don't care if they lose the tag belts. I want this turn to involve Sasha's goal of winning the SmackDown Women's title. It needs to involve
the main
Sasha
title.
Either costing Bayley the belt or something along those lines where it has to have more importance than, oh, they lost the tag belts and now they're going to split up. You know what I mean? Like the tag belts mean absolutely nothing.
No, I'm absolutely with you. And I think they are kind of steering it in that way. I think them winning the tag titles just kind of adds to the, oh, you think their bond is unbreakable. Actually, it is. So that's going to be. I'm like sitting on the edge of my seat, just actually waiting for that. All right, we've gone way over. That's what happens when I miss the show for a week. And
I start giving you my Parks and Rec takes, and then that's what like just takes the show to another level.
Nah, but again, we're I'm super happy to be back. But that being said, we've got to sign off for the night. We'll be back on Friday after SmackDown because we've got to do a little Backlash talk because
we got to talk about the greatest wrestling match in history.
I have some thoughts. And I'll save them for Friday. Look at that tease.
Yeah, save those thoughts for Friday. If I'm not on the show on Friday, or if I'm really down, it's because I lost my son's college fund on this IC title match.
IC title match.
So
it'll be a solo rant.
Keep me in your thoughts. There's a lot riding on this.
Yeah.
Maybe my marriage. Who knows? But make sure you follow us on social. Subscribe to our podcast on YouTube. That's Two Jabronis with a Wrestling Podcast. Hit that red button down here. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and on Instagram and in the BR app at Two Jabronis with a Wrestling Pod, or Two Jabronis at 2 Jabronis Pod. Jesus, we need to wrap this show up because I'm
It's getting late.
just word vomit. Follow me on Twitter at Jeremy A. Loss, and you can follow Ben at Cruise Control. That's control with a K.
And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you download your podcasts. And if you're one of our fantastic Apple Podcast users, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And if you're feeling spicy, leave a review. And again, to our Spotify people, hit that follow button. Shoot us your screenshots about following us on Spotify. We've been on there the entirety that we've been doing this pod. But my wife the other day was like, why don't you ever shout out Spotify? Felt bad immediately. So
they're going to give us the bag, so we have to start shouting them out.
I was trying to slow play it with the Joe Rogan thing. Now that we're up, I think it's just my rightful duty to shout them out since they're going to throw us a shit ton of money. All right, everyone, we will talk to you in a few days. It's great to be back. Jay, good to see you again. Great to talk to you, and we will talk to everyone soon. Peace.
Be safe, everybody.